Morning, kids. Got the playoffs with Cat and JJ. I appreciate you rolling with us. We were talking about Nicole Eggert. And if you're as old as I am, you remember her from Charles in Charge. Otherwise, most people remember her from Baywatch. And she's kind of getting on, I don't know. I think when people say get on your soapbox, it's negative. But she kind of is. She's out there trying to tell people, like, hey, be careful. Cause
the younger generation, she wants these 18-year-old girls that, you could look in the mirror and it's more mind over matter. You might be like, oh, I hate this about my body. It's totally normal to feel that way, but to have a surgery that could affect you in a negative way, she's just kind of saying, heads up.
So
this could happen.
The goal this morning is to get a couple of sides of this. Number one, have you ever had an elective surgery that you regret? On the flip side, maybe you're really, really happy with it. Hey, Dave, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing this
Great.
morning?
Appreciate you asking. Tell me about the elective surgery. What'd you have done?
So when I was like 20 years old, I was living in northern Minnesota working in the iron mines, and I got a bad throat infection. And my tonsils were pretty inflamed. And I went to the hospital and saw an ENT guy, and the ENT guy just happened to be an old Army doctor.
Okay.
Oh, I see where this is
So
going.
we elected to remove my tonsils while they were infected, and he did it while I was sitting in a chair awake.
Oh, my God. Rub some
Not
dirt
put
on
to
it type of
remove
thing.
My tonsils. Yeah. This is how we did it in the service, so this is how we're going to do it here.
That is crazy.
Well, let's just say they didn't give me enough anesthesia to local. It was all local anesthesia, and they didn't quite put enough in there. But they managed to finish regardless of how much pain I was in.
Oh my
You're
God.
sitting there squirming.
So
They're yanking your tonsils out. In the meantime, they gave you some dirt on it and maybe a shot of brandy.
What happened days later? Did you get infected? Well,
Oh, it was infected when they took them out, and then really you're supposed to not remove infected tonsils, as I was informed by my mother, who was an RN for 40 years.
Yeah.
So, they, ever saw like a pair of side cutters?
Yeah. Oh,
like you
God.
might have in an old toolkit.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what they use, is a pair of side. But of course they were clean and sterile.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they got them both out of there, and then it was a painful recovery. But they needed to come out, but I think I could have waited to go in when they weren't so infected.
Was this a cause
That's
of
my
where
story.
you worked? The fact that your tonsils were infected?
Partially, I think.
Probably all the
I think,
toxins.
I wore. Right, working in the iron mines in northern Minnesota, in the plants, you're susceptible to a lot of dust.
Jesus.
But I wore a respirator quite a bit of the time, but obviously it wasn't enough.
Dave, you're the kind of guy that as soon as I think I might have had a tough life or like things aren't really going my way, I'm going to rethink about this conversation. I'm going to go, hey, remember the guy that called in from the iron mines that had his tonsils removed with some side cutters?
You could have Dave's life.
And they
Suck
barely
it up,
gave
Buttercup.
I've had such a candy-ass life compared to you.
I bet you're one of those guys that if something goes wrong at your house, you fix it.
Oh, of course he does.
I bet you don't call up
That's
one
right.
single person.
That's right.
All right.
Good story, man. Thanks for chiming in. We appreciate you. Have a great morning.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Take care.